Heyo, it's me, Harper Savage, and today I have a box. We're gonna open it together. I have seen the top of this just because I want to make sure it was my box and nobody else's in the house, so. Ooh, pretty. All right, let's get it out of here. And it is this Crayola alcohol-based markers. Now, I had no idea Crayola was making alcohol-based markers. I think they came out recently. I don't know. I was shocked when I was looking at the Prime Day deals, and I was like, ooh, I wonder if Ohuhu has any good deals, because my cousin's really into Ohuhu markers too. And these like showed up under their feed. So I know what you're thinking. Yes, it's the year of the purge for me. I'm not supposed to be buying art supplies, but so far I've only bought in like 1 or 2 other things this entire year. So I think 3 purchases is not that bad so far. But let's get this plastic off of here and take a look inside. Oh my god, is that a handle? I didn't even notice the handle. Like a pleather handle here. It is 120 dual tip markers and switch 6 swatch cards, smooth blend and shade. Here's the side so we get a glimpse of what the markers look like. And here, back of it, and apparently this case folds, or is it this case, or is this is a belly band. Hold on, how do I get it off though without ruining everything? Ah, right here. Oh, gotta slide it off the handle. Hold on. I was like that thick box that I was showing you guys for my Lego flower video. You should check that out if you haven't yet. And we have a cool raised looking Crayola. Ooh, I just scratched the box. How do I do that? Crayola design here. Now what we're all waiting for is see the markers. Ooh. Okay, so this is not a shape I was expecting. That's cool. Okay, so I was expecting them to look like a rebranded Ohuhu or Copic marker, but they're like their own thingy, and they look like they put them in an order. Not rainbow though. I'm gonna take out this one. Okay, so they're like slightly oval-ish. They're smaller than Ohuhu, and I'm guessing probably Copic too in every way. Like they're not a wide barrel, they're shorter. And it looks like they are the same brush in bullet tip, so that's exciting because I don't really like chisel ends. I feel like they're kind of useless for me. And they have the color name terracotta. I don't know what this code is. LC11 light coral 11. I don't know. Throwing it out there. Like what is this coding? I understand DG is Dollar General and GG is Get Good, because I'm like light green LG, right? YG is yellow green, GB green blue. Then there's also blue green. I don't understand the coding so far, but let's take a look at the inside here. Let's do the bullet side first. Here it is. And the brush side. Ooh, okay, that was a little harder. Brush side tip looks a little interesting, but maybe it's just, you know, because I haven't used them yet. And let's compare to the Ohuhu markers. So their bullet tip is a bit bigger than the Ohuhu's. I feel like it's about the same size as a Sharpie, like regular Sharpie is. Look at brush sides, and the Ohuhu brush tip looks a bit more pointed at the end. Like not quite as cheap, but as you can see, I have like ink bleeding out everywhere. I don't know what that's about on this particular marker. So let me see. Okay, so there's dividers in here. That's cute. I'm gonna see these swatch cards because I want to know what's going on in here. I can get them out. Give it to me. Give it to me. Give it. Right, now this is all gonna fall because it's not tightly packed anymore. Okay, so, oh, interesting. Okay, like I love and hate that, but you can put it in your own order. So that's interesting. Oh boy. I'm gonna hate doing that because I will be very particular about my order, and that means I'll have to swatch them all first and then put them on the swatch card. All right, so before I swatch them off, I think I'm gonna just do some tests with them first and then I'll swatch them because I'm eager to try these out because I don't want my first impression of them to be me swatching everything and already getting my opinions and formulating stuff. All right, I'm gonna be using this little Canson mixed media notebook here. It's almost finished. Oh my god, I need to do stuff with these pages still though, like leftover paint pages. All right, I'm gonna use that terracotta color because I like the color of the cap. It matches my glove. I just want to see what color it actually is, because to me terracotta is like a bit more brownish. It's very terracotta. I'm gonna randomly pick a color I hope it'll blend into. Apricot? Oh god, that's not what an apricot looks like, is it? And now an even darker one. A mango tango. So I'm seeing that they might blend. Maybe if I picked out colors that actually would go together. Let me see. Oh wow, it like almost didn't go onto the bleed sheet there. All right, let me try the bullet side, see how that is. That's very, I don't think I like the bullet side. Very stiff. Like the brush side seems okay. I think it's stiffer than what I'm used to, but I feel like it's not that hard to adapt to. All right, let's see how this colorless blender works, if it works. No, it's calling itself clear. Oh god, couldn't get the, oh, it's like slightly pink. Interesting, and that's before I touched anything. Let me see. I think it kind of works, yeah. I feel like no colorless blender works like super great, but I think it does about the same amount of lifting that other ones do, right? Or let me see, because I have like the Hoo-Hoo one right here too, if it'll do any differently in comparison. So the Ohuhu brushes are a little bit softer. Honestly, I think the Crayola one lifted a bit better, but to be fair, Crayola was lifting its own brand, so maybe it just works better with its own formula. I just went straight in for the the blending and didn't even like do like the line. I think it might be a little bit more difficult to get line variation than like the Ohuhus and maybe even the Copics, but it still works. Clearly, right there. Also, they do have a smell, like all alcohol markers do. Smells a bit more like permanent, like Sharpie-ish, but not like as strong as Sharpie, if that makes sense. I do see like a tiny bit of feathering outward. I don't know if it's just because, you know, that was a new color and I was putting a lot of pressure on it to make it vary in line thickness. But now let's do the overlapping circle test to see how they layer. Okay, I grabbed dandelion, turquoise, and cherry bomb. I was looking for ones that said yellow, cyan, and magenta, but I don't have that kind of patience. So if there are any, I didn't pull them out. Sorry. Okay. Oh, look at that. They layer quite nicely. Like, I like that I can see the colors through so they can mix. I do feel like that yellow and that blue didn't mix as much as they could have though, but no, that looks really good, right? Okay, next I am curious to see how well the caps match the color. And I would say that they're pretty good so far, but do they match their printed swatch, I wonder? So let me just take the first one in the set here and do a little coloring. I think the cap's a bit darker for this one, but it's like, I could tell that that's what color it would be after a while. But they did match pretty well with like the actual printout. That's crazy. Considering I like, you know, I've had Crayola products before and a lot of them are pretty spot on, but then there's like the same like 10 green caps that you see like with the super tips. And it's like, what color is that? Is it actually different? And they do end up being at least a little bit different from each other. Maybe I could just reorganize them based off of what they look like on here, you know, to make my life easier. Let me just swatch a few more at random here. I would say this one's a bit duller than that one. Like that one's more red, this one's a bit more like dull and boring. I don't know how to describe it. So maybe I will still sit here and swatch them all 1,000 times before they're in the order I want them in. I'm going to show you how to put it on its little kickstand thing because it brags about how it folds into a display right here on our belly band. So I actually had to move my my handle here because I was like, it doesn't do all that. It was just blocking the way. Oh, look, and there's instructions on the flap here. That's funny. Okay, and then you invert it, basically, I guess is how it works here. Let me just... That didn't work. Hold on. What do you mean? Huh? Mine falls down. Hold on. Am I stupid? How do you make this work? Oh my god, wait, what? Oh god, the markers are coming out. Is there like a magnet it's supposed to clip onto? What? Does this part bend too? There, like, I see the perforation, but it wasn't originally like that. Hold on, maybe that's a step I'm missing. I think that was the step I was missing. Okay, maybe that should be more apparent. Oh, they put their thingy on top. Let me see, does it say to do that on these instructions? Hold on. I guess it might be obvious for some people that this was supposed to bend in some kind of crazy way. I don't know. Anyways, I kind of wish the handle was a bit like longer because it like fits perfectly around here, making it like a little bit annoying on this side, and then if you have it on this side, you can't do the whole like gymnastics to get it into its tilted position. But anyways, here is what it looks like before I reorganize it. Let you see it without all the glare and stuff. And this is how I decided to organize it. I think it looks way better than it did. I know it's not like the best because we have some of the purpley pinks over with the grays, but I couldn't make it work in the order I wanted it in. And the reason I decided to go like this is because, well, this is more pleasing to look at than if I put the green over here and it's like in the same spot. And then I decided to put the blue on top instead of putting it at the bottom here and going up, because it made sense on the swatch cards like this, because each swatch card is one of these sections, and I will show you what I mean. So each of them have 20, and that's how many fit in each of the individual spots here. So specifically the blue, well, it's the green to blue, and go next to each other like this, like on top of each other, so I can compare the colors easier. And this is what it is like side by side. See, these 4 colors are those, and these 4 colors are those. But let me show you the full swatch set now. Now here's a better idea of what they all look like. Now I do think the colors vary from what when I was swatching them to put them in order to what they look like on the swatch card here, because I'm not like even sure what this material is. It's like cardstock on one side, but like poster board on the other side, and it doesn't really look like it's glued to anything, so I don't know what this paper is. Here is what it would have looked like if I kept it in their order, just about. I can see what they were going for here, where they like went to red to like purpley red to purple and to blue and whatnot. But that to me is not the right order that I learned things in, so that's why I wanted to go for a more rainbow order. And here's what, like a good view of what I'm talking about with being able to connect the swatch cards here to compare the colors closer, because I know I have issues with the Ohuhu ones where it was like they're not in a great order, like it goes like this, and I just don't understand why the browns are like in the middle. I would rather them be like with the other warm colors, you know what I mean? So I have a hard time like being able to shade things, because I'm like, I know some of the yellows and browns can go together, but I have to keep looking back and forth. And I also have a problem with the greens too, because they have like some of the yellowy greens like in the middle of like the bluey greens, and then there's more yellowy greens down here. I thought long and hard about the order I wanted these in, and I am disappointed in some of the colors looking drastically different than when I swatched them on my paper. Like, I would put that not there. And like with the gray ones, there's like these 3 random ones that I feel like don't really fit into the warm grays or cool grays. Like this has like a bit of a green tint to it in real life, and this has like a bit of a reddish tint to it, but not quite warm, you know what I mean? Like it's cool warm. Is that a thing? I don't know. And this one's kind of like pinkish. Like I think these two probably could have gone closer together. But anyways, now that we've gotten all this part done, I think it's time we pick out a coloring page and color something. I'm probably gonna color on Amazon paper because I know for colorists, the adult coloring community, they like to use alcohol markers and they get a lot of Amazon printed books. So I figured that'd be the best way to test this for like a majority of the audience that I feel like probably could be watching this. I don't know. Well, let me pick out a page. So I decided I'm gonna be coloring a page in my coloring book, Forging in the Wild. It's a coloring book that I made and published on Amazon, so you can get a copy for yourself if you want. Link is in the description. And I'm going to be coloring the Ivy page, so let's get to it. I want to just talk about a couple of things that I left out at the end when I go over my final thoughts and opinions. I want to make a disclaimer. I am going to say that I think there might be 3 to 4 pairs of markers that look alike in color. I can't tell you that for sure because I'm doing it based off of what I think the average person can see. I'm one of those weirdos that can see like a bigger spectrum of color than the average person. So that's why I didn't say it as a part of my final thoughts, because I can see the differences between all of the colors. Not a brag, it's more like a I'm blind to other people's normalcy, I guess. I don't know. And another opinion I have here is that there's too many RVs or like red violets. I think they could have had more oranges because we only have like maybe 6 or 7 oranges. Meanwhile, we have at least 10 to like 12 of the red violets. You know, I say orange as in like orange, not like skin tones or browns. Another thing I wanted to bring up was the like coding system. Doesn't really bother me now that it's done. Whatever the letters and numbers correlate to are not really that important to me, because if I'm looking in the blue section and I need TB4, I'm just going to look for TB4. I'm not going to sit here and gripe about what does TB stand for. It probably means like turquoise blue or something, but it ultimately does not matter because I'm just looking for the numbers that match. I know I was also like that when I was doing my Ohuhu setup, because there's like R17 and R13, which are thinking probably stands for red. They are very clearly purple, like the bluish purple. So there's faults in like everybody's system. I know Ohuhu has like supposedly fixed theirs. I don't know, I have the older ones, but like again, in the end, it's really not gonna matter to me specifically. But if that's something that bothers you where you don't understand the coding, then obviously then don't get these. So here is what it's looking like. I think it turned out pretty good, you know, as far as rainbow leaves can go. All right, let me get cleaned up so we could talk about final thoughts and opinions on these. Okay, so it's time to go over what I think of them now that I've used them. First, I'd like to go over like the packaging of this. I think it's really cool that it can like stand up on a lean on its own, but the flaw in that is that if you have them in a particular order, like I do, and don't want to mix them up, if they're like standing up and you take a color from the bottom or any of the rows that's not the top, the colors are going to shift down. So they'll essentially get mixed up if you have them on that lean. But if you don't care about what order they're in specifically, it's not a big deal. Another problem I came across while I was swatching was even when I had them sitting straight up, they were kind of moving around. And I think it has to do with the caps being curved, so they just naturally want to like lean back and forth, or side to side rather, compared to an Ohuhu or even a Copic marker. They have flat bottoms, so they don't move around when they're straight up and down. That's something to keep in mind. They will move around, especially if you take more than one color out, no matter if you have it tilted or standing straight up. And it was quite frustrating when I had to take several colors out while I was swatching because I didn't like the order and reordered them. I had to like have 3 hands holding everything up in place while I put the other ones in the order I wanted. And they do turn sideways if there's enough space, and then it makes it so the other ones shift around because it's like they're thinner one way, but because they're thinner one way, they're less prone to like roll around. Another thing to keep in mind is that these swatch cards are going to look different than whatever paper you're using, because I personally don't know what this paper is that I swatched everything on. So like for the Amazon paper, everything kind of came out a little bit darker, and if you're coloring on Amazon paper with a black backing, it's gonna affect the color even further than that. Just be cautious about that if you have one of those coloring books where they waste all that ink on the back page. And they also, while coloring, they do that bubbling thing that Copic markers do. I'll put a clip in so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. And it seemed to only do that when I was layering it and blending the colors together. But the background, oddly enough, didn't do that, even though the background had like all those colors on it in the end when I like covered up everything. But let's get to the like more positive stuff. I think that these are pretty comparable to Ohuhu. Aside from that like bubbling thing, I think they blended pretty similarly to how Ohuhu work. I like that we get to choose what order we put them in, and like how we can swatch the cards instead of having to go by what they think is the right order, because everyone has a different preference on what order their colors go in when they organize them. I guess one of the other like nice things about it is that it has this handle. I do wish it was a little bit bigger so it was easier to move around the casing, because on the side with the lid it's not as easy, and that's always the side I happen to have it on for some reason, because it gets in the way when you close it. So I don't like this whole having to do gymnastics to get it closed again. I don't really know if people are gonna like take these around because they're pretty heavy. Like I don't really know that many artists that take all of their alcohol markers with them places, so let me know if you do that, because as far as I know, people usually take easier things like color pencils and watercolors that are like a bit more compact. Oh no, marks. I do feel like a lot of the caps do match their swatch. I'm sure there's some that don't. I didn't like see any that were that drastically different from their cap for me to be able to point it out or anything. They do also happen to have their color names on their barrel, which is nice. This one's called Cosmos. Back in my day, we would probably just call this like Indigo. So they're all like the crazier names. I'm not a fan of that. I would rather it just be like obvious what it is, but I know that like the fun names attract people, but these are the adult or all grown up as they're like calling them. And I just feel like the funny names probably work for a lot of people, but I'm just one of those where I'm like, this would be cerulean, but it's called calm waters, you know? Especially because I'm sure the people buying these are the people who did grow up with Crayola and know the older names. I also like that it's the brush tip and the bullet tip and not the chisel end, because I don't like the chisel ends. I almost never use them. I almost never use these either, but they do come in handy when you're trying to not like bleed outside of the lines. That's what I generally use it for, if it's like a tiny spot where I know it's going to bleed outside the line if I use the brush tip. Also, these do pass the pen cap test. I personally don't do this with my alcohol markers just because when I'm blending, I tend to have them all like kind of a little capped like this, and I hold them in my hand and I switch back and forth quickly to make the blend like seamless, or as seamless as I can be. Okay, let's talk pricing for these. I got them on the Prime Day deal, so I only paid, I think it was $80 for these. Normally it's $105 for a 120 set, which is the biggest set they currently make, and it is Amazon exclusive. So that is about 87 cents per marker. If you got Ohuhu's 120 color set with the bullet and brush end, it would be normally $115, which would be about 95 cents per marker. Now I know Crayola does not have the refillable option, so if that's a deal breaker, it's a deal breaker. But if you're just getting into alcohol markers, I would say that these are a good starting point. So I guess the big question here is, do I think this is worth getting? I absolutely do think they are worth getting. They work fine for me, so I would recommend them. Do I think you should get them if you already have Ohuhus? No, only if you're looking to get more colors, like you only have the skin tone Ohuhu set, you could totally get this set too. But if you already have like a large Ohuhu set, then probably not. So let me know what you think. Were there any tests that I missed that you wish I had done? But that is gonna be it from me today. If you guys want to watch another comparison video, you can go ahead and tap the thumbnail here. If you want to catch up on anything you mentioned, you can tap the thumbnail here. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to do all the cool YouTube things of comment, liking, subscribing, and turning on that notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye!